just making this is passive here. From whom was born Jesus. But this doesn't necessarily help us in English. This is the disambiguator, right? This helps us very clear to realize, oh, one more affirmation of the virgin birth, and at least the text is making that claim. All right, so what sort of pronouns I, he, she? What sort of pronouns are these? Demonstrative. What sort is that? What sort is this? Interrogative, right? Personal pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, relative pronouns, interrogative pronouns. He is the one who spoke to Cheryl. Now, unfortunately in English, right, the problem in English is that our relative and interrogative sometimes overlap in form, not in meaning. So who is clearly not interrogative. It's not an interrogative pronoun here. He's the one who spoke to Cheryl. Well, there's no question. Right? The question isn't because of the interrogative. He is the one who spoke to Cheryl, but it has nothing to do with it. Who, whose, whom, that, which are do not equal the interrogative pronouns. I think we think where would also be able to be on this list. Right? So things we want to pay attention to. Right? Everything has a rough breathing mark and an accent. What's an antecedent?
It's referring
The word that the pronoun is replacing or pointing back to. Everyone? The word that the pronoun is replacing or pointing back to. Everyone? The word that the pronoun is replacing or pointing back to. What is the antecedent? Everyone? The word that the pronoun is replacing or pointing back to. Right? There's no need to know about an antecedent until you get to your second language. In the first language, you just pick it up. That's it, but you get the second language, you're going, this would be helpful. Why? Because a relative noun's case is determined by its function in the relative clause. The number and gender are determined by its antecedent. And we saw how important that was in one of our last examples. We had to kind of figure out, well, what's the number and gender? Well, it can't be that then. Well, then this cannot be the subject. Oh, the number and gender is. But the case is determined by its function inside the relative clause. Well, it's case denominator, so it has to be the, no, it's doing the relative clause. Just worry about that. Anthropos han genoskomen, didaske emas. Anthropos han genoskomen, didaske emas. The man whom we know teaches us. Right, so this is the beginning of our relative clause, and this is where it ends, because there's a main verb here. Man whom we know, the man teaches us would be plenty. We don't even have to have this. But this helps us understand who the man is. The man whom we know teaches us. But wait, Tom, the man is nominative. What's this doing in the accusative? Tell me. Right? What's its function in the relative clause? It's the object of genoskomen. So anthropos is nominative. It is the subject of the main verb. But here's a relative clause, so the relative pronoun, we want to see what its case is. Well, its case is determined by its function in the relative clause. Its gender number are determined by its antecedent. So, the man whom we know teaches us. Take a look at it, ask me questions.
So, easy way on how this goes, but you could change the whom to him and put it after we know to figure out, like, we know him. Whom, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, and that would be one way to kind of test it, I suppose. If you want to put in parentheses, something like the man, like with some quick aside in the Shakespearean play, teaches us. I suppose we can do that.
Okay.
What's clear is how important it is for us to understand the mark for case number and gender. The relative pronoun just jams it in our face, and we've got to understand gender, case number and gender. We just have to, and we have to know that. Yeah.
So, gender number determined by the antecedent.
Correct.
Case is determined by its function in the
this one's worth getting our ears around, so if you have more questions, you guys.
I just, in English, I don't understand why the Nostroman isn't also in the nominative, because it's all referring to the same person. The man who we know is almost,
But notice how you began your phrase. What did you start off with? I agree. What did you start off with?
the man.
No, you start off with in an English sense,
Oh, right, yeah.
right? I mean, and it's very reasonable. We all do the same thing. One of the great things about learning another language, it unselfs us, it decenters us from the world. And we have to go, oh, that's right, these people are speaking Greek. I'm not trying to be smart alecky towards you. It's something we want to keep saying to ourselves and go, they weren't doing Greek for the sake of English. That's just something, I lived in England for a year, boy, did I realize how America is the center of the world. It's not. But I mean, how everything's, you go to World News Tonight. It's not the World News Tonight. It's news that's important to Americans that, because when you watch a World News Tonight in England, America doesn't get noticed, except if it impinges upon Europe. They don't care about a lot of American news, or if we all look dorky, right? And that's reasonable. We kind of do the same sort of stuff. So here's the same sort of thing. We have to keep saying to ourselves, what's the Greek doing? And you'll hear it. You will hear when people are not uncentered in sermons. You'll begin to go, boy, you are a little over the text. You are just so all over that text, and no, that text is not saying that at all. And one of the things Greek does is by helping us to back off from the text, it really forces the text, us to listen again and go, is that what your text says? All right, so I'm spending time right now on my sermon for this weekend, and I am working on Jesus stilling the water. So, let's see here. So in this, let's see how well this works, we'll find out. Let's see if this one- So, I'm going to have to play the great shadow game. Great shadow game. Okay. So, kai lege autois, and he says to them, in that day being evening, or the evening being, let us go across to the other side, and leaving the crowd, they take him as he was in the boat, and other boats were with with that boat. And there was a great storm of wind, and the waves were pouring into the boat, such that it was already filling the boat. But he, it's really Anne, right? Everyone sees Anne. And he was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. And they raised him, and they said to him, Didaskale. Everyone see the vocative? See the didaskale. Vocative, not didaskalos. Teacher! Umele soy hati apalumatha. Do you not care? Is there not care to you that we are about to be destroyed, or we are being destroyed? And rising, he rebukes the wind, and he says to the sea, peace, be still. And the wind was quiet, and there was a great calm. A couple times people were speaking, this was absolute silence. Because we were all just so gripped by these people who were living out in Jesus and being God's people in horrible situations, just like, I just could not believe the silence. Right? And he says to them, why are you afraid? Ti deloi esta. Now, we're now on a tangent, but it's a Greek tangent. So I kept thinking, if we start with English, why are you afraid? Oh, Jesus doesn't like fear. But he's not using pathos. He's not using the normal word for fear. So I'm intrigued. I'm still playing with this one. I'm not there yet. So what I did was I looked up this word deloi. So I can poke on it, and I can say, and say to it, I want to search for this word, and I want to search this particular word, and it gives me a quick concordance in the 3 times it happens. Okay? These two are in parallel tellings of the story. This one is in the list in Revelation of people who will not make it into the kingdom of God. The English here translated as cowards. So it's not just any fear, it's kind of a cowardly fear. Okay? Because here's my current theory that I'm still working on is, well, we have laments. So are the disciples not allowed to say, Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing? Is that an inappropriate theological statement? But he doesn't seem to be rebuking him for that. He says to them, why are you afraid? But really, we all have to admit there are levels of fear. And this one appears, I need to do more work on it, but this one appears to be cowardly. So if I work from the English, I go, fear is bad. Maybe not. Maybe there's a level of fear where it's unfaithful. Because it appears that it's very faithful, from the Psalms, to really argue with God and ask him why he's asleep. Right? And there's one Psalm, why are you asleep? Wake up! Rouse yourself! Come on! Pay attention! So that with their complaint is a reasonable prayer to God. Do you not care that we're perishing? So it's not necessarily the phrase, it's an overarching attitude. I have a theory that when my children were young, that when they'd say that's not fair, that was an act of love and trust. They assumed, by implication, I'm fair. And they believed that was a reasonable thing to push me on, that I valued being fair. Dad, that's not fair! So I thought, well, that's a real, and it's okay for us to say that to God too. God, that's not fair. That's not right. And that's not somehow an unfaithful prayer. That's a faithful prayer. So it's not inappropriate that Jesus is said, Master, didaskale, don't you care that we're perishing? I think there's some underlying, and how can I do it? Off of the Greek word, though I only have one extra case, right, so in Revelation, but it's in the list. So I gotta do some more work on the Greek word. But I think it's, why are you cowardly? So it's not a problem for Christians to be fearful, like, yeah, but still trusting in God. God, I'm scared, but I'm with you, but I'm really scared, to cowardly. That's my current theory. But how am I working my theory? Not off of the English, fear, working off of a Greek word, deiloi, only occurs 3 times, twice in 2 synoptic stories, so I prove the 3rd story. Then I need to go to BDAG now, I need to read through BDAG and go, well, how is this used in the Septuagint? That'll be my next jump, will be to look at the Septuagint. When does this word occur in the Septuagint? How is it occurring? And because, I'm not going to tell my stories, I'm going to tell the story Sunday, because the story I heard yesterday, I went, wow. I've got a great concluding story tomorrow, because the witness of a community yesterday that just knocked my socks off. I'm so fascinated. Right now, my concern in my congregation is I just sense some malaise, some kind of like lack of passion. And I thought, man, if you all could for this, they could have just been sitting there listening to these people who just don't have it so easy. And maybe the malaise is it's just so easy right now. But and you listen to these people and you're like, holy smokes, you people are freaking amazing. I got a splinter. Right? I mean, you're listening and you're like, never mind, I'm fine. You know? You know what I'm saying? But, okay, so the tangent is what we have to keep doing is, what does the text say? Well, our goal is to get better and better at listening to Greek. And our advantage, huge advantage today is we've got these great tools. I can do it on my computer, 3 great bits of software. I can do it on my same 3 bits of software on my iPad, either way, and I can start researching a word, and your advantage is you're going to have more sense of what can it do and what can it not do. And interesting, why didn't it use phobos? Could be a reason. There are various reasons in different gospels and different stories as to why they use certain words and not use other ones, and you have to be careful to make assumptions and read other scholars. What does the Greek say? So when we look at this guy up here, right? I think, personally, yours is a very reasonable English question. And that's what we're trying to listen to ourselves. You know, starting with English, I think, a very reasoned English question. But we're not starting with English. And that's where we have to keep going. And I mean, give you an example of my own concentration level. I have to tell myself I'm driving a car. Why are you looking at your phone right now? I'm alone in the car. Why are you looking at your phone right now? You're driving a car. This is self-talk I can engage in. What are you doing right now? You're driving a car. This is several tons hurtling at a great speed. What are you doing? I have to lecture myself. It's not a bad thing to do scripture from time to time. What are you doing right now? Oh, I'm reading the text. Trying to listen to what that text says. Instead of, I'm all over that text of what I want it to say. There's markings. We have a clear Greek word that I've got further research. I'm not done yet. I've got to do some more work and see whether my theory is right. It's not a bad one right now. I've got some evidence for it. There are Christians who are fearful and are in the game. And they're scared. They are praying and they're in the game. They're not walking away. And then there are Christians who are cowardly. And in the game, there's no faith in God. It is an act of faith to say to God, why are you sleeping? That can be an act of faith. I trust you to be awake and you're not doing your job, God. Wake up. Well, how can I say that? Well, I got Psalms. I got the Bible on my side. Tell me I'm wrong. I'll say, prove it to me. I've got Psalms. Your argument is, right, that's faithful engagement of God. I can do that, sir. I can say, no. But there is a way that I could say, yeah, there's a way that I could be cowardly. That I would not say it's an engagement of faith. It's really, I'm not holding God to account. I'm just freaking terrified, and God's not in the picture at all. And I listened to my brothers and sisters yesterday, and I don't know what I'm wondering about. I just don't know what I'm wondering about. Okay. All right, so this helps us. You will listen to pastors, to preachers, and to finally people who will create theories off of the English translation of this, which will be wrong. They won't have the data. The trick is, how do you do it humbly? Humbly, humility, humility, humility. How do you gently, with humility? Well, you know, there's another way to read that text, and the Greek gives us a greater clarity towards it. But you'll hear preaching and go, no, Joseph was not, what? What are you talking about? No. And you've got data. Relative clause is the first word in the relative clause. Relative pronoun is the first word in the relative clause. Relative clauses are always dependent clauses. They will never have the main verb or subject. Relative clauses will have a verb and a subject because they are clauses, relative clauses. They will not have the what? Main subject and verb, that's right. But relative clauses can perform. Fill in slots. Relative clauses can perform any functions of noun, pronoun, or adjective. They can be in the subject slot, the direct object slot. You can have a whole, as we saw, a whole bunch of words being the subject. A whole bunch of words being the direct object. A whole bunch of words being the indirect object. All right, whiteboard work. Unless there are other questions about relative clauses. Whiteboard work. Grab those little things.
That was in my head.
Did you actually say it out loud?
I'm not sure.
Then you guys are 1. Y'all are 2. Y'all are 3, but A, just keep in mind, y'all are 3, B, y'all are 4, so we are really not trying
As if they weren't.
5, and
Great. Makes it a little easier on me, thank you.
Keep them now, I know. It's not
you all are 6, but 6A, just go to the 7th.
Talk about page 51.